Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of the Chapalang Film Podcast. I'm your host Say Peng. We also have co-hosts and film director Jonathan Chu. And our guest today is film director and writer Cheng Chai Hong.
Hello, am I supposed to say hi now?
Yes, this is the time
Yes.
to say hi.
I'm sorry, I've no idea how any of this works. I've no idea how anything works, to be honest.
Introduce yourself.
Oh, I'm supposed to introduce myself. I thought that was, hi everyone, my name is Chai Hong. I'm as Say Peng just mentioned, I'm a film director and writer. And I am currently preparing to make my first movie ever. Hopefully not my last.
Yay!
It's called We Can Save the World.
So, Say Peng, you want to introduce a little bit how you first met Chai Hong? I mean, I have my story. I will go next. Maybe you can go.
What? I think me and Chai Hong go back. I think. Okay. I think I met Chai Hong in 2014 in my first year at film school. So we both went to the Putnam School of Film and Animation at LaSalle College of the Arts. And I think Chai Hong, you were two years my senior, right? You were final year, correct?
I think so, yes. 2 years your senior.
Yeah. So at the time, I remember the first time I met you, you were editing your thesis film, Harbor. And and we were in the editing room and I watched one of your, I don't know, first or second cut. Do you remember?
I do not remember this, but I remember the final cut I graduated with wasn't something I completely wasn't something I was completely in love with. I think the first or second cut might have been the very first, like the good cut before, like, was a cut I was happy with until things went downhill. where if you remember Hide, our lecturer at LaSalle, is this Japanese lecturer, man of very few words, very hard to get a single word of praise out of him. And that was a cut that made him, that after he watched it, he patted me on the back and said, good job. And then I just went away happy the entire week. And then of course, like, things went downhill after that. Damn it.
Yeah, so I think, so this year is 2023. I think we know each other for almost 10 years already.
Oh my God, 10 years.
Yeah, it's almost 2024, so almost 10 years.
Shut the hell up, I'm so old already. No,
How are you, John?
Oh yeah, sorry, John.
I believe Chai Hong and I met. Sorry, the first time 3 years ago. We were part of this commission initiative with Blue Tree Asia. We did. It's this series of short films. They commissioned like 8 filmmakers to make, in conjunction with IMH, to make this films circling around mental illness at that point of time. So it was a few month affair lah. And then there were a lot of like, where is it going to be played on and everything. And then suddenly one fine day it just appeared on YouTube and me watch suddenly and like, oh, okay, yeah. So that's how we come together to meet. Yeah.
I was just gonna say I made something that was very experimental by my own standards. I was in my, oh my God, I need to try being an artist phase. I need to try see whether there's another version of Chai Hong I can seek out. And then I did it and I went, nah.
But it was a very enjoyable film.
Yeah, and I think so just to segue, right? Like, Chai Hong, I would like to bring you to your LaSalle final year. And for everyone who don't know, like, in our final year, all students in LaSalle, we have to write a dissertation. And Chai Hong, you wrote yours on the films of Bong Joon-ho.
I can't remember exactly, but it was something about. It was basically about how Bong Joon-ho managed to figure out how to make films, how to tell stories that were sort of sitting at the crossroads between art house, storytelling with very deep philosophical very deep philosophical identity and themes, and while still being entertaining. Because to me, at the end of the day, a commercial movie, it's about entertainment. Like, it's not about anything else. So, and entertainment can come in all forms, right? And I think at that point, I didn't realize it. Well, I think I probably used way too many words to describe something that I can essentially really just describe now with very few words, which is that this crossroads, right? It's a holy grail.
I believe every single filmmaker, to a certain extent, maybe not every single filmmaker, but most filmmakers do want to find this crossroads at some point. And I mean, and especially for myself. And what this crossroads looks different for every single movie filmmaker. It looks different for every single writer, every single director, and it's up to them to figure out how to get there, what kind of journey they need to get there, what kind of lessons they need to learn to get there, and what kind of stories are unique to them,
right?
That can bring them to that crossroads.
I would just be curious to know, like, your thoughts on, like, genre. Like, what is genre for you?
Now, okay, see, I was gonna ask you what I wrote, because it sounds like you know my dissertation better than I do. But okay, now that you mention it, okay, I remember the bits about genre now. And this is good. This is helpful for me moving forward, because I completely forgot I wrote any of that shit. Maybe I've internalized it, maybe not. But essentially what I remember, my thoughts on genre were that genre provides boxes. And genre provides structure. Genre provides context for people to understand filmmaking, to understand movies and movie storytelling as a text. Because genre, it gives you rules, it gives you constructs that people have to abide by. And I think one of the reasons I was fascinated by genre is that in relation to Singaporean filmmaking is that we don't have, there's no strong tradition of Singaporean filmmaking. I mean, in modern days, there really, maybe we might have had that in the golden era, but then in recent years, like the past 20 years, right? What is Singaporean filmmaking? Like every single director, a Singaporean director out that has come out the past 20 years, right, has their own very distinct style. And rightfully or wrongly, even though our cultural landscape is actually so, our just living landscape, the societal landscape is actually so homogenous to a certain extent. We all speak similar languages, as English. We all live in very similar, neighborhoods. Like we see the same thing. We take the same public transport. None of these filmmakers' filmography, right, has similar themes.
Right.
Everyone does their own thing. And I remember distinctly remember thinking that actually in itself makes it tough for Singaporean audiences to watch and brand the Singapore movies and have a label that to call that their own. Yeah. And this honestly, like speaking out loud, it might be a good thing, it might be a bad thing, but what it does is that humans are creatures that love to categorize stuff. We love putting things into boxes, because putting things into boxes helps us understand things easier. But I realized with Singaporean movie making, we had no such boxes to call our own.
Yep.
So my thought was that could genre be one of the keys to figuring out what is a box for us? Because genre was the box that South Korean filmmaking actually emerged out of. I don't know whether it was happenstance. I don't know whether it can't have been a concerted effort, because your directors don't usually, while they are deep in the writing process, they're not likely to come out and, hey, what genre are you working on right now? Oh, let's do this. I think it's more probable that they're all affected by some huge cultural sea change. Maybe for Korean, it's easy. it's the Korean War, US.
Actually, American cultural imperialism, you could put it that way, right? Influenced a lot of, like, American films influenced a lot of Korean filmmakers of that generation.
I think you're right. You're
Towards
right.
all of them. But we don't have.
Yeah, genre is so important to them because if you actually look at, I mean, Korean cinematic history is long, since 1940s, all the way throughout to 1990s. But the first notable blockbuster that broke out of Korean cinema, right? I believe it was in 1999. It was this film called Shiri. I don't know if you remember, right? That came to the shores of Singapore. It's like, box office hit, right? That's like the first one. And it is like a film that was pretty much aping Hong Kong action films at that point of time, right? Prior to that, anything that came out pre-1999 South Korea, right, were really just dramas, unstated dramas and everything. Post 1999, right, it's like from then to like 2006 or whatever, right, it just exploded, It's like they went from 0 to 100 like really quick. And it's shocking. That's 1999. 2003, 2000, you got JSA already.
SGSA.
Yeah. And 2003, you have like Tale of Two Sisters. You see the jump in quality.
Kim Ji-woon. What's that? Yeah, Kim Ji-woon.
Yeah.
It's astounding, man. 2003, you have Memories of Murder. Yeah. Something that is wholly, like, they cover identity already. Yeah. So, I don't know how it works. I really don't know how. Yeah.
And I'm tempted to say, I think from an audience perspective, I think more maybe like a cultural perspective, it is genre because it allowed filmmakers to go, okay, I now have a genre, I now have all these boxes, right, to anchor the stories I've wanted to tell to. Because the truth is, you can change genre, you can have the same story and have it go across so many multiple genres, and the plot of a movie will completely change. And to me, that's what's fascinating about genre. And my hypothesis was that to find that crossroads, you need genre. And the trick with genre that Bong Joon-ho achieved and has kept on doing, right, is the art of subverting genre, of figuring out what genre he's actually what kind of genre he's trying to make in this movie, and just keep step in, step out, step in, back into the genre, step out and step into another genre, or step back into that genre and figure out, is there a rule here that I can break, I can bend to constantly keep audiences on the edge of their seat. And you just now, John, you mentioned the whole idea of like keeping audiences on the edge of their seat, right? I think Bong Joon-ho managed this trick where he, what did I say? Oh my god, my brain just suddenly just went into power saving mode. Yeah, he kept people on the edge of the seat, right, through the act of subverting genre. And because audiences knew what genre they were in for through the marketing, through a setup at the start of the story, that subversion surprises people, and that surprise, and sometimes when you want to wield it, you by turning into suspense, that is what keeps people on the edge of their seats.
Yeah, and suddenly this scene popped into my head from Parasite, where, for the first 1/3 of Parasite, it was like a comedy, right?
Yeah.
And then suddenly, when the family has finally like ingratiated themselves into the rich family, and you remember there was this shot where I think I forget who, but one of the family followed the maid down into the alley, right? Into the basement. And suddenly that is the moment where this comedy has suddenly turned in somewhat of a thriller. And you can feel your heart racing already, like, like this basement isn't exactly what it seems, huh? Yeah. And suddenly he switches genre already. Yeah. I think Bong does that really well.
Yeah, and
He does it so strongly. Yeah.
sorry, John, what you say?
He does it in a way, right, that is so accessible to common audience, but you can tell that it's cinematically ingrained in it comes from when you see it, right, you know that this thing comes from films like The Housemaid, right? If you've seen the original 1962 Korean film The Housemaid, right, it has that same power struggle between classes set in a house like that, right? There is also another British film by Joseph Losey called The Servant, right? And he's able to take these influences and bring it to contemporary age and serve it to us like it's no big deal like that, you know. And that's his power of his subversion.
And I don't think
he,
sorry?
I think he takes those influences and delivers them in his very, very distinct Bong Joon-ho way. Yep. Like Kim Ki-young's film, The Housemaid, lacks the dark humor that Bong Joon-ho has, right?
Yeah.
And I haven't seen The Servant, but I bet, right, it's completely different from the tone of Parasite.
It's different.
Yeah.
He takes the dynamic filmmaking of The Servant, and he takes the geography of space from Kim Ki-young's The Housemaid and kind of mix it up.
And I think the thing that I always love about Bong Joon-ho is that he has fun. He's always having fun. You can tell that he has all these, cinematic references. He has all these cinematic idols. He is trying to do visual storytelling on the highest level. He's trying to push visual storytelling to the very limits and making sure that he can tell a coherent story. But all those things, if you look at the craft of movie making, right, it's actually it's tiresome. I don't know. I see it's tiresome. It gets very boring. Like you can love the craft and you can go, okay, this blocking is boring. I need to make this interesting. Let me figure out how to change the character motivations. How do I change the dynamics between the character's movements with the camera, with the space, with geography of the location. All this is fun. It's interesting, but it's still craft. At some point, Bong Joon-ho, he probably not deliberately, or maybe deliberately knowing how much of a deep thinker he is, he still goes, this frame looks great, this camera movement looks amazing, this blocking looks amazing, but it's not very fun. That's my thought process when I'm watching his movies, and I go, I almost see, I'm probably imagining things, but I see him going, like probably the first version of this shot wasn't very fun. He injected his own sense of fun into it, which is stuff like, just now when you described that first that scene where everything flips, right, where they go into the basement. I remember so clearly because the old maid holds the door open by pushing herself parallel, and she goes parallel. A regular person could have just stood there and then leaned and pushed the bookshelf, but she went parallel. It's Looney Tunes. It's basically just pure Looney Tunes nonsense.
Yeah.
It's like he's an idiot. He's just fun, and I love the fact that he's having fun. So I feel like that's a takeaway. Like today, when I'm watching movies, when I'm thinking about, when I'm framing something up, when everything looks a bit too textbook, what I imagine the fun in filmmaking and is watching like movies from in future from Jon and Say Peng, right, is that I want to see how you guys have fun. I want to see like your sense of and sometimes it could like depending on who you are, it might not be physical comedy. It might be like a little wrinkle in terms of like making people's hair stand. Like a specific look that you love your characters to have, to make people think a bit harder about character motivations. Whatever it is, I mean, like that is the most fun part, and then that makes movies like really, really interesting to watch, and makes me go, that's a saving movie. That's a Jon Chu movie.
Filmmakers, don't forget to have fun.
Yeah, I think we
want to have fun. Yeah.
So, Chai Hong, I don't even remember. There was one time when we met for dinner, and after dinner we were walking around Somerset MRT, and you were telling me about this quote you heard, whether it's from Hide or whoever, that the idea was that a film should be so alive that it should feel as if the frame is vibrating. Like could you elaborate more on what you meant by that?
I don't know whether who I heard it from, but now that I think about it, you know what? The first time I told you about this, right, I was very hesitant to attribute it to myself, right, because it sounds like such a philosophical way to look at filmmaking of shot making, right? But now that I think about it, I really can't remember who I got it from. It doesn't sound like it's something Hide would tell me, even though it sounds like something he would say. I don't know whether I read it from some book, but I realized I latched on the idea and started to expound on it a bit more. Even though in recent years, to be honest, like it's something that's very easy to forget. And thank you for reminding me, because I'm gonna bring it with me for the rest of my journey now. Which is that I latched onto the idea because as a director, right, very often you have this whole conundrum of shot making and questions asked of yourself where, what shot size do I use? Yeah. What shot size do I use? How wide is the frame? Who do we follow? How should the camera movement feel? And very often, it comes down to a discussion between yourself and the DP, right? And then thinking, okay, do I want to use a tighter lens? To what kind of emotion are we trying to tell? Whose story are we trying to tell? Whose perspective are we trying to follow? And I realized I like this idea because it gave me a way to think, okay, I basically only have two ways of grouping these shots, like two groupings. One, on one hand, it's a shot where the character has energy, and there's so much energy, and that the character themselves in the blocking, they're moving around, and the frame need to be loose enough to either let the character move within the frame, or have the character move across the frame, and then the camera follows the camera follows the character. And that's why I'm looking at it, right? That gives me the what, and that basically ensures, if I follow this train of thought, I basically ensure that I know that the character has forward momentum. I know that the scene has energy, and I know how the camera interacts with the character in this, on one hand. On the other hand, it's a tighter frame, and the frame. Then the question is, how tight do you go? Do you go for a CU, like in technical terms, a close up? Do you go for extreme close up? Do you go for medium close up? And the classical way of filmmaking, I always tell the very textbook idea, right, is that you go for a close up when you want to reveal something. You want to reveal a new story beat, or you want to reveal a piece of key plot device. You want to reveal someone's emotion changing. But then I was like, okay, but I want to just see whether there's another way to do it, and basically deal with it a bit more philosophically, while having a tangible end result, which is that, okay, the frame needs to be tight enough that even if the character isn't doing anything, the frame should be so tight that should be at the appropriate tightness that you can feel the frame vibrating. The character should feel is appropriate. The framing should be appropriate to what level of emotion that the character is feeling. What the character, even though the character is completely still, the character isn't doing anything much. Deciding whether that level of tightness makes you feel like the characters, there's something happening. The frame in a very literal, almost like a metaphysical way, is vibrating. Okay, that's the tightness. That you have the right framing. And I kind of led on an idea that I mean, I explained, the practical side of it a bit more, but on the more philosophical side, which is what Sibyl, you're trying to drive at, right? It's the whole idea that, like, the scene should always be interesting.
Mm-hmm.
It really just goes back to the whole idea: is the scene interesting? Is a character doing something interesting, even if the character is doing nothing?
Is this something you kind of subscribe to in film school or post-film school?
I suspect it's post-film school.
Right.
I suspect it's post-film school. Right. And to be honest, I say all that, but maybe by the tail end of film school, I think it might have even been during the process where I was writing a dissertation, and your mind starts to go a bit wacko, and then you start thinking a bit too much. You start spending a bit too much time with you and yourself, and then you just start coming up with crazy theories. And truth be told, trying to execute something like that on a regular basis, it's not easy, because very often you don't have the tools, you don't always have the resources to make that, make executing a vision like that possible. But I look forward to doing that in We Can Save the World.
Yeah, and I think a good segue now, because we talk about genre, right? And obviously you are kind of well known for comedy. So I'm just curious, like, why comedy, and why comedy out of all the available genres for you? When did you realize you can make comedies? That's what I'm curious.
I didn't realize I could make comedies until I tried out Average Guys. And only now that you remind me about this, right? I remember having an epiphany and having my memory shoot all the way back to the first year of film school, where we had like a little directing exercise. I remember it was on one of those very basic directing exercises where everyone was supposed to basically have a scene shot inside the toilet. And most other people's approach was to treat it as like very straight. They just treated it very straight. I have the shots, I have a wide shot, I have this, and then you're supposed to cut it together. But I didn't think I wanted to make a comedy at a point. Like, you don't, of course, my first year, I barely know anything, right? But I basically did it as a comedy, where there was a punchline at the end, which is that I can't remember, it's some nonsensical shot about someone getting stuck in a toilet. That's it. And it elicited a few, I think it got laughs, but that was the end of that. Because shortly after that, the rest of film school begins, and then you start getting indoctrinated into the films of Bellatar. And then I start thinking, I'm a serious filmmaker. I'm gonna make dark stories. I'm gonna make hard-hitting melodramas. Like if it's not it doesn't tap into the darker side of humanity, I'm not a filmmaker. I swear I subscribe to that all the way up till I graduated. And even like, I think my mind sort of shifted a bit when I started writing dissertation on Bong Joon-ho. And I started thinking, okay, maybe these are the kinds of movies that I want to make a bit more. But even then, the switch didn't quite flick for me to go, you know what, I'm going to make comedies. Because at the end of the day, I had no track record of making comedies. Making comedies, like, everyone says it's such a tough thing. I'm not about to go, you know what, it's tough and I can do it. I'm not That's crazy. But I always knew I was Joker. But I mean, you don't have to be a Joker for you don't have to. Being funny in real life doesn't mean you need to be a comedy filmmaker, right? I mean, that's not the logical train of thought, right? But when I started working as a corporate and commercial video director, at some point I thought to myself, you know what? I can't keep doing this. I'm so sick of this. I'm getting burnt out. This is not what I had started in this industry to do, to just do like corporate videos for clients. And then opportunity came up to create something of our own. And then at that point, I didn't think I'm good at comedy. It was more out of pure desperation that I had this idea hatching for a while called Average Guys. And we decided, and I like the first draft, the draft of like a first episode like stored away. So I dug it out and then I expanded on it a lot more, and then started rewriting it and figuring out, okay, how do we get this into production? Then, even then, I wouldn't have thought I'm good at this, right? Because at that point, like I had nothing but bad just critical comments. Because at that point, even today, I'm still not nowhere near the finished product, right? So we were in a desperate situation because we were trying to go into the next stage as a filmmaker. So we just shot it, we put it out. Thankfully, we got some laughs. People found it funny. And then I started building on that okay, if people are laughing at this, how about this joke? If the people are laughing at this, it makes me a bit more confident that I know how to structure a joke. I know how to structure a gag like that will make cause laughter. Then after that, I started thinking to myself, maybe I'm pretty okay at this sort of thing. Then I started going, okay, I'm gonna start taking comedy a bit more seriously, because I realized it tied back to my original ambitions of wanting to be a certain kind of filmmaker.
Right. And maybe for audience who might not have watched Average Guys, right, how would you describe Average Guys?
Average Guys is a mockumentary about a video production company who have ambitions of being more than they currently are. It's essentially what we were at that point in time. I was just taking a very meta approach to our own lives, to be honest.
So it was very like autobiographical, would you say?
Yes, in a way, yeah.
How did you, because it's Average Guys taking the comedy mockumentary concept, right? You can see quite evident influences of like The Office and Parks and Recreation. How did you kind of take this comedy influence from the West and translate it locally?
I think there were the joke writing parts and there were the technical parts. I think the joke writing parts really, I had to. There is this great book that I read during that period of time called Secrets of the Hidden Tools of the Comedy Screenwriter. So check out that book if anyone wants to. That was basically my Bible. So because I knew I couldn't ape, like really just copy it, like doesn't make sense. That's not how jokes, like that's the worst. Like copying someone else's joke is the absolute worst. I do not understand why anyone does it. I hear someone make a joke and I go, I will never do that joke. Or even if I do a similar joke, I need to make sure that it's completely done in a different way. So I don't understand why anyone would want to copy jokes, especially through social media today. But anyway, so I figured, okay, I needed to go back to basics. What are the principles of comedy screenwriting? Because I wasn't taught that in school. None of us were taught that in school.
I don't think it will ever be taught in school.
But it's such an amazing tool. Like, oh my God, John, you need to read it. I think I've recommended it before.
So what are the basics of comedy screenwriting?
Making sure one of the basics, there are several, I think there are several tenets now, but one of the basics is making sure your hero is your protagonist is a non-hero. So I mean, everyone has sort of anti-hero, all those things, right? But a non-hero essentially is the opposite. Okay, so a hero is, if we define a hero as someone who has the tools to overcome obstacles in their way, a non-hero is someone who does not have the tools to overcome the obstacles in their way, but is still required or still wants to overcome those obstacles. It's like, you don't even have to write jokes. You just need to figure out who your character is, who your non-hero is, what are the aspects of this character that make him or her a non-hero, and you put the right obstacles in the character's way that form the plot, and you have the backbone of a movie already. Then all you have to do is just follow that character, and like comedy will ensue. It sounds like a cliche, comedy ensues. Right. Comedy will ensue because you need of thinking of, oh, I need to make this line funny, or this action needs to be fun. Right. Like nothing. Literally, with Average Guys, it was a character, and similar to The Office, like in The Office, David Brent or Michael Scott, they are characters who badly want to be loved, but they do not have the skills, the tools to make people love them. That's it.
Right.
So this is like in in Average Guys, the lead character, the director is someone who really badly wants to make something of himself, but like his personality is just not a great fit. Simple.
And the desperate attempts become setups for comedy.
Correct.
Yeah. Oh, it's so simple, but now like hearing it like that, it's quite illuminating actually.
Yeah.
Simple intention, and try the motivation to achieve, and the setback that is causing the friction. Get it?
Yeah, exactly. The example I love to give is imagine The Rock. So Dwayne Johnson in any of his movies, Skyscraper, Fast and Furious, he's a prototypical hero, right? He is a hero. If there is a burning building, he needs to jump out of and chase someone across the roofs of Manhattan, right? Yeah. He has the ability to leap across roofs. He has the ability to jump down a burning skyscraper and then land like in a rubble of dust, and then he will be unharmed. He's a hero. He has those skills to overcome obstacles. Now take the same character, remove, and depending on the beauty of it is, depending on who you are as a filmmaker, you are going to remove a certain kind of set of abilities that you think is funny. So for example, like I not that I find this especially funny, but just off the top of my head, let's just give in this exact same scenario, let's give The Rock a fear of heights. That like he would still have to jump down the burning skyscraper, but then now that he has a fear of heights, what the hell does he do? Does he slowly climb down? Does he try to figure out whether he can take a lift? He will go and try to take a lift. He will try to go and climb the stairs. You will see fun ensue already. You don't even need, just put the camera, just figure out what that lack of ability is, and just take it away.
But when the comedy comes from the dialogue, how do you approach it? How do you know whether the dialogue you've written is actually funny or not?
The truth is, I do not know how other people will take it. The only thing I can be confident of is that if I write something that I find funny, and honestly, I've thought about this a lot, because if you look at every comedian writer's journey, right, it's actually especially like American comedians, where they go on stand-up comedy stages, or they go on SNL. It's trial by eye. They might have the talent. They might have a talent to structure a joke. They know innately what something is fun, whether something's funny. Yep. But they have to go and test it out and throw it out to the audience and figure out, oh shit, nobody's laughing. Yeah, this sucks. Then they have to go and go back to the drawing board and figure out, what about this sucks? Is the seed of the joke still a good one, and can I build on it? And for me, it was this process of I've written plenty of shit jokes, like first draft jokes, and then I write it and I think it's funny at first, but I show someone and then nope, nobody laughs, and then or I literally just sleep on it. The next day I'll be like, what the hell is this nonsense? Right. And then you keep building from there, and really it's just practice.
When I watch Average Guys, right, I thought what particularly worked, right, is that because you said it in English, and we are watching this, the characters in the show Average Guys, they work in a production house, and they are very comfortable using English/Singlish. In that sense, there is a specificity to it. It's easy for us to latch on to the characters almost right away. And the jokes land particularly well when they are in English as well, because there's that authenticity, there's the honesty to it. I imagine, if there's a Me Watch version of this that is commissioned by, say, Channel 8, right? And they are like, let's take that Office documentary and let's shoot this production house, but it's all in Mandarin. It could be disastrous. Not saying that mockumentary doesn't work well in Chinese, because I think there are mainland China mockumentaries that work really well with their own deadpan humor. But Singapore Chinese mockumentary sounds like a diarrhea. You know what I mean? Because you imagine that production house, unless you are able to really tap into a very Singaporean Chinese, a modern way of speaking, you have to be very specific in that. I would, for one, love to see a mockumentary done in, let's say, Kopitiam. You have those very realistic characters. But I can only imagine like let's do it a Chinese version just for the sake of it, without properly translating the nuances. I don't know. Is this a thing with language that you think about often when you are writing?
Wow. I often think about it, but not quite in the same way that you just described. But I think that is a great. That is especially if you are doing like dialogue-based comedy, right? I think that is something that you must consider as to whether it's authentic. Like, does that scenario actually happen? And if it does happen, right, the key thing to me to consider is that, are you the right filmmaker to bring it to life? Because I imagine you ask me to do it, right, it'll be disastrous, because I, for one, I have no idea what a Mandarin-based, Mandarin majority speaking production house sounds like. Yeah, I'm sure I can imagine plenty of jokes. But for example, I was in a writer's room, right? First thing to do is to recruit someone who has insight into that sort of environment, and then get that person in, and then so that they can help supply jokes from that angle. But I would not be that person. And I think this ties into the whole idea of language in Singapore, because with comedy and I think not just comedy, I think with all forms of storytelling in Singapore, we have always struggled with this identity issue, where do we speak Singlish? Do we speak the Queen's English? Do we speak Singlish accented English? Do we speak Singlish that's more colloquially derived from Mandarin, or do we speak Singlish that's more derived from the structure of Bahasa or Tamil? And all of those variants of Singlish sound they don't sound very different, but there are slight nuances. For example, Singlish is spoken by an Indian whose family is Catholic. But so compared to the Indian who's speaking Singlish, but their family is they're Hindu. Right. English is gonna sound very different. And I think that's something that I think about very often when I'm writing, because one thing that we always, as Singaporean filmmakers, we always bump up against, right, is the idea of our population size. And that if you don't figure out what language you are telling a story in, what language your characters are speaking in, you potentially alienate a large swath of the audience. And then on the deeper level, it's the idea of authenticity, like you mentioned. Are these characters speaking the right kind of Singlish? Yeah, and I think that's something that we've always struggled with. And with We Can Save the World, to me, I believe in making a movie that's in Singlish, because in a lot of Singaporean movies, the past decade, because that Singapore is largely Chinese based, most of our population is Chinese based, it has always been the easier route to go, let's make a movie in Mandarin so that we can hit these audiences easier. Let's not make a movie in Singlish, because there's no guarantee that if we make a movie in Singlish or English, right, audiences will buy into it, because that's not the kind of content that has been working over the past few years and past few generations. But I am a believer in not doing that, because I think with our generation, with millennials, Singlish is now, maybe with our parents, our elders, right, that might not have applied. But I think with our generation, it does apply, that Singlish is the go-to language of choice. Right. And that is potentially a language that if we feature it more in our movies and storytelling, that's a language that can form our on-screen identity, our media identity, and like bonds people together.
With that, if you can speak to the audience about your this feature film that you are talking about, We Can Save the World. Maybe just a little bit of introduction. What is it about? How you are doing it? Where are you at right now?
Okay. So We Can Save the World. It's a sci-fi comedy. It's a comedy sci-fi. Very little sci-fi. It's a comedy sci-fi about a disillusioned government worker whose day job involves clearing homeless people, rough sleepers out of the neighborhood. So one day he comes across this particular homeless man who comes up to him and tells him that he's an extraterrestrial, he's an alien, and that there's a doomsday device on Earth in Singapore, and he needs this government worker's help to find the device, disarm it, and save the world. And the government worker's first response is the same as all of us: fuck off. like really, that's your excuse? Like I know you're trying to resolve this, but like there are so many other better excuses you could have come up with. But turns out, as the story progresses, he realizes that he really is an alien, and things start going haywire. And then he starts realizing that Singapore is a lot more wild and crazy and conspiracy. There are all sorts of conspiracy theories that actually sort of that there's a whole other layer of Singapore that Singaporeans, everyday Singaporeans don't see, and things go down the rabbit hole. And we start going into a journey where our government worker, our protagonist, by the end of the story realizes that, saving the world, it's not about grand actions. It's not about disarming world-breaking bombs. It's actually about just helping out, giving a helping hand to the guy sitting or standing in front of you or next to you, even if he happens to look like a homeless man telling you that he's an extraterrestrial. Yeah, so it's sorry. Yeah.
And the language is predominantly Singlish. English.
English. There will be other languages worked into the story as well, like Mandarin, Tamil, the different dialect groups, whatever makes sense for the Singaporean characters involved in the story is, like, we will switch to those characters, switch to those languages. And I think that's That's what makes Singapore Singapore.
Yeah, if I can go back to what we just discussed, right, about this tension between English and Mandarin in Singapore films, right? If allow me to play advocate lah. So the common reasoning to make a local film in Mandarin is because we are surrounded by we can export this Chinese film to Malaysia, to Hong Kong, to Taiwan, maybe even to China. And that exponentially increases the commercial viability of a film versus making a film in English. And where can you sell an English language Singapore film? Which country will buy it? So that has always been the reasoning, right? And that's why a lot of our films are in Mandarin. And what's your counter to that reasoning?
My counter is a very simple one. Why are we so obsessed about making sure that our movie travels? I used to subscribe to that train of that belief that, oh no, like the story needs to travel for it to be successful. But in recent years, recent months, like as I really think very deeply about what kind of story we can save the world actually is, what kind of movie I actually want to tell, is that yes, I do want the story to travel, but let's not put the cart before the horse. Like Vittorio De Sica, I doubt anyone asked wait, Vittorio De Sica, that's his name, right? Oh my god, am I mangling it? Yeah,
Vittorio De Sica, the Italian film director, for anyone who doesn't know. Yeah,
it's like I'm just digging into my film school heritage now. But yes, Vittorio De Sica, did anyone ask Vittorio De Sica when he was thinking about bicycle thieves, do you think this movie will travel? Do you think this movie will do you think the Sicilians will like this movie? Do you think someone in Prague would like this movie? No one. That was not thought process. The thought process, first and foremost, was to tell a story that mattered to him as a filmmaker. And you take it one step further, he wanted to tell a story that mattered to the people around him, to his family, to the people who he was suffering through famines with, who was suffering through natural disasters with who lived in the same city as him. Yep. That was a focus. Yep. That is how you tell a story that is true, that is honest.
If I can play, yeah, sorry, you finish first.
Yeah, did Bong Joon-ho, did anyone ask Bong Joon-ho or Park Chan-wook whether, do you think your movie, this is a movie that will travel? And of course, the end result were that these movies travel. But I truly do believe that if we put too much focus, I'm not saying that we don't think about it at all, but we've put too much focus and try to do all these machinations, right, to try to make this movie exportable before you even figure out what this movie actually truly needs to be. I think we are just trapping ourselves in a very bad place. And the romantic part of me is really just thinks that, first and foremost, I want to make a movie because I want to tell a story about Singaporeans. Right. Those are the people I'm trying to appeal to. Yep. If it travels beyond that, then of course, then we can start thinking about, okay, is this story a universal one? If it's does it contain universal, values? Does it contain universal themes that someone from another country would be able to watch and go, oh, I see a bit of myself in this story. I see elements of my own culture in this, my own society in this story. I think that's what makes a story inherently exportable. Not thinking about, I'm gonna make it in this language. Because the truth is, people can say these things all they want, right? But let's look at historically for Singaporean movies. Even if they are made in Mandarin, right? They don't travel all that much.
Yep. when you are talking about this idea, right? And then of course there will be people who think about the challenges of marketing it and everything. But I suddenly had this idea when this film finally comes out after you are making it. Bring it to the polytechnics, man. Bring it to where the young people are. I think, and I'm hopeful that they will watch it, because I don't think they will be what I think the current like Chinese language films, they have a little bit of disconnect with them. But bring this to them, you know, I don't know, maybe organize screenings or what, get a word of mouth about. I think they can connect. Yeah.
Fingers. John, you're the expert. I'll take your word for it.
Yeah. Bring it to the schools. Bring it to the young people. Yeah.
Maybe.
Yes, that was it.
Okay. Yes. To be honest, I'm on your side, but just to play devil's advocate, I think using Vittorio De Sica's films and Park Chan-wook's films as, you know, or Korean films as an example, is a bit unfair, because when Vittorio, like an Italian filmmaker, he has a large audience in Italy. A South Korean filmmaker has a large audience in Korea. Whereas we do not have a large audience in Singapore, which is why we have to depend on foreign markets. And if you think about which foreign markets share a language with us, you know, like for example, if it's Mandarin, there is all your, you know, China, Taiwan, Hong Kong, etc. If it's Malay, there's Malaysia and Indonesia and maybe Brunei. I'm not sure. Tamil films is because of Bollywood and the whole kind of film industry. I think it's very hard for whether it's Tamil or Hindi movie to make it over there. So just commercially wise, right? It seems to make more sense to make Mandarin like a Chinese language film, so that it can potentially make back its own money, because our own market here in Singapore is so small.
So two things about that. So first of all, I would immediately not shut down that train of thought, because I'll just gently swat it away. Because if you look at IMDb figures, right? Yes, you can with a very, and that's what people frequently do. And I feel sometimes unfairly, and maybe sometimes it's a bit of a self-sabotage, where people go, oh, Singapore has a small population. Yes, factually true. But if you look at IMDb breakdown of how audiences are going to cinemas, right? Audiences go to cinemas like way more than I think like as you know, as global viewership for movies to audience visits to a cinema, right? Like plummets, right? Singapore remains consistently high because in Singapore we don't have much else to do. So, but the thing is, Singaporean movies account for, as of I think 2022, for 2022's figures, Singaporean movies, right, account for 5% of national viewership at the cinemas. So before we even speak about going out to the world, right, guys, we only hit 5%. Like, you want to talk about, oh, let's say Singapore, very small population, we only hit 5% of them. Like, why, before going global, why are we not focusing on hitting the other 95% first? And of course, the ideal situation is to achieve commercial goals. We want to do both, right? But once again, if we start thinking about everyone outside who, for all its intents and purposes, do not give a shit about Singapore, why are we not telling stories about Singaporeans, where for Singaporeans who actually do care about Singapore, maybe they don't care about Singapore movies, but they do care about Singapore because it's a place they live in. It's the environment they grew up in. Why are we not telling stories to reach these people first when there's 95% and another to reach out to? The second point with regards to deciding, figuring out the commercial viability of movie, right? And you know, even if you feel like you cannot possibly achieve 100% of Singaporeans watching a movie. And realistically, that's impossible. So I'm not saying that that's actually an achievable thing. If you feel like you cannot make that kind of movie, then don't make your movie expensive. That's really, at the end of the day, when you're producing a movie, like, it's beyond just the whole idea of writing and directing, right? It's about figuring out the producing aspects of it. What kind of movie can you actually produce realistically? And the truth is, with technology today, with smart filmmaking, with tapping on resources that every filmmaker does have, that's unique to themselves and their family and their supporting networks, you can make a movie for way cheaper than what it used to be. Like, I'm not parroting stuff like, like Robert Rodriguez telling you to make a movie for 30K. I don't think that's possible. I can't make
3K.
Or 2K.
Yeah, something like that. The first one.
Yeah, and I'm not telling you to go guerrilla filmmaking. So I'm not capable of that. But the truth is, a movie doesn't need to be 500K or 800K either. There are smart ways of making your movie and getting people on board to make the movie with you, and figuring out what kind of movie it is you want to make that lies on that little crossroads of being art house and telling a story that you feel needs to be told, that you really want to tell to people, while still being entertaining as heck, depending on what genre you want to make it in.
I love it that you mentioned like the financing and the budget, because I think what stands out from what you're doing now is you are crowdfunding. And I know the way you are going to finance the film is more than just crowdfunding. You have some private equity. So before we go to that, right, I think a question is, I think in Singapore, all the filmmakers know that the Singapore Film Commission has a new talent feature grant, which is a 250K grant for any debut feature. So the obvious question is, why didn't you apply for that?
So I think first and foremost, I need to I need to put out some disclaimers, because if not, it will sound like, I'm this like sour grapes. I never get. But the truth is, I think realistically speaking, we can save the world because it's more commercially facing. I think more commercially oriented. Based on historical records, like it has, like, that doesn't feel like the kind of movie that the Singapore Film Commission is looking for lah. And of course, yes, they will tell me, and they will say that they are looking for more than just the more art house minded movies. But
really,
at the end of the day,
that is completely where their verve is right now.
Sorry,
that is where their direction is completely right now, just art house.
As in, you're asking as a question or
like a question? Is this where is it right now? Like the
thing is, I'm not sure.
Okay. Well,
yeah. The truth is,
right,
I am hopeful that the powers that be are not thinking like that.
Okay. But, sorry, I think I misheard. I thought you were saying that they were telling you like, oh, we are.
Oh no. And they are not saying that. But at the same time, I don't have full confidence that this is a movie that they are looking for anyway. And I'm impatient.
Okay.
And I'm impatient, and I didn't want to go through that process to wait for the money only to be told no. So I mean, I could be told yes, I could be told no. For very right, for very rightful reasons. It's just that I wanted to see whether there was another way to do it.
Right.
Because of, so this is, I think for me, I'm taking great pains to not put anyone's efforts down, because I think at the end of the day, right, IMDA does try to do a lot for the industry.
Yep.
But from my perspective, money is finite, even if it comes from the Singaporean government. It's not of infinite source. And there was at one point while thinking about how to make We Can Save the World, I actually had a very serious thought to myself that, you know how in our generation we often speak about, in our circles, we often speak about starting a Singaporean new wave. We need a wave of Singaporean movies in cinemas at the same time, not to compete with one another, but to make it clear to, to take over market share, to make it clear to Singaporean audiences that, hey, you want to watch a comedy, you have a movie from Chai Hong.
Right. Yep.
You want to watch a movie from another genre, you have something from Jonathan Chu. You want a movie from another genre, if both Chai Hong and John Chu are not your cup of tea, there's something from Say Peng. There's something from a Singaporean filmmaker that's good, that's exciting, that maybe on this weekend you can watch something from Chai Hong, next weekend you watch something from John Chu. The third weekend you watch something from Say Peng. And I think that'll be brilliant. And then we will all be surrounded by Singaporean filmmaking, and then we can start having conversations about, this movie could be better. What movie could he be making next that will top this one? Or maybe take away some of the gloss, take back some of the gloss that he lost with this current movie. Maybe his current movie, the latest movie he released, wasn't that great.
Right.
Maybe he can make amends with his next movie. Maybe I can start putting out news about my next story, and then you can start seeing people, whether people get excited about it or not. But until we have a wave of Singaporean movie makers, Singaporean movies coming out, we will never have that. Like, we are nowhere near having such conversations take place. Nowhere near the kind of conversations that take place, the narratives that take place around Marvel movies. It's like, no matter how badly Marvel storytelling is tanking right now, people are still constructing narratives out of the craft, out of Marvel making movies, making TV series.
Because they had a wave.
Yeah, they had a wave. South Korean had their wave.
Yep.
So, which brings me back to the original point, which is that if we want a wave to happen, relying solely on government grant is never gonna make it happen. Because I succumbed to that thought process. I actually went, if I don't get the grant, I won't make my movie. I can't make my movie. Then I realized, holy shit, if that's what every single Singaporean filmmaker is thinking,
yep,
we will never have a wave. Never. Not in the next 5 years, not in the next 10 years, not in the next 20 years.
Something needs to start on a more grassroots level.
Correct. Yeah, and I mean, to a certain extent, me deciding not to go for the new talent feature, because I'm not disqualifying myself from ever taking it ever again, because I mean, it still applies to a second movie, right?
Yep.
But for me, I always went, I need to now that I have this thought, I cannot get rid of it. I want to see whether it's possible to make a movie without it first.
Yeah, I suppose it's also the energy you are now on. This film, it's urgent. It needs to be made now. The talent grant maybe next time. Yeah, you are going right ahead with it.
Yeah, it's like I still want to sing the like IMDA support. It's just that maybe not for this movie, because right now I am actually quite intent on figuring out whether there's another way of doing it. And whether I succeed or fail, at least I have, tried it, and then maybe stepped across a few potholes, avoided some cracks, so that the next filmmaker can do better than me.
You have
Yes.
a different
So
approach. Sorry.
Just share with us, right, about this other approach that you are taking in terms of both like the financing part and the distribution.
Okay. So the financing part, it will be, financing, it's when you put it down to numbers and the sources, right? It's pretty simple. It's, do you get your money from non-equity sources, or do you get it from equity sources? And equity, if it's non-equity, usually the biggest source of non-equity money is IMDA money, which is the government money. But then, so if we don't have that, what other sources can we get it from? Mostly equity. So there will be sources coming from private funding. It will be a long process of us pitching the vision to all these potential investors and getting them to buy into what we're trying to do. Sometimes almost for an altruistic reason. But that's up to us to figure out how to sell the story to them and figuring out how to make sure that vision and all these promises actually can be enacted. And I think that, to me, that is a process that I might never have had if I straight up took INDA money. Because the truth is, the moment if I take INDA money, right, and if I succeeded, let's say I succeeded and I got the 300K, I never have gone, I would have gone, I have all the money I need. Let's go make the movie. I wouldn't have thought so hard about making connections with people outside the industry. How do I reach out to other potential partners? How do I reach out to players that can potentially expand the IP? All these conversations I would never have had. But now, because we put ourselves in a position of desperation almost, we suddenly every single door was wide open, and we had permission. We give ourselves permission to go and just do our best to seek out money where maybe some people might have not thought about. I mean, the conventional filmmaker might not have thought about trying to access.
Yeah, I think we had dinner the other time, and you mentioned that if from this process you realize that there are in fact quite a few sources of money that you previously did not realize. Like, can you talk more about that?
So it's the smallest things. And to be honest, I lucked into it. Like, I lucked into it because of that. We lucked into it because of desperation. In maybe like 5 years' time, maybe we can look at it in hindsight and go, wow, Chai Hong, what a brilliant strategy. But today I'm telling you, no, we lucked into them because we don't have any other options. Let's try everything. So it's stuff like approaching my ex corporate video clients who open up doors to maybe creating IP in escape room games, to providing locations that I never thought I could have accessed. This desperation spurred conversations essentially. And I'm not at I think right now I'm not at liberty to reveal names, because I think those deals haven't been no pen to paper yet. Right. But essentially, for example, if I had the money, right, I would just go, let's go look for locations. Let's go form our crew together. Let's go secure the talent, and let's go shoot. Let's go edit, blah, blah, blah. But because we don't have the money so readily available, suddenly we go, okay, if I speak to this person, what kind of help and networks can this person open? And we went into a lot of conversations with that in mind, with that at the front of our minds. Right. And suddenly these people are going, oh, okay, I can't provide you with money, but here's what I can provide. I can provide you with maybe support in the form of a charity. I can bring in a charity partner, and then that opens up doors to other non-equity sources. That opens up the door to pre-sales or to certain different groups of audiences that we might, to groups of youths that we might not have access to. So having conversation with ex-clients suddenly made it clear to us that, oh, okay, we could have now we have like a whole event, a whole location that is actually looking to publicize their own location, and that their own goals align with our movie's goals, and suddenly we can do a partnership. Instead of just going, let's make a movie.
I think this is all very inspiring. And would you encourage maybe other young filmmakers to take the similar route that you are taking, kind of spearheading their film like that?
Absolutely, yes, absolutely. Because the truth is, every single filmmaker, right, young or old, they have networks that they don't realize. They really do. We all really do have networks that we don't realize that will open up different avenues of making their own movie in their own style. Sources of money, sources of location, sources of cast, that will suddenly like just create a whole new world instead of just going, just thinking of everything very traditionally. And how I see the other thing that I want to do, like supplement this point with, right, is that start thinking like producers. I think we have an abundance of writer directors in Singapore. Both writers and directors and writer directors. Okay, maybe no, I think pure writers we still have a lack of them, but writer directors and directors, we have plenty very talented, but we have a lack of talented producers. And everything that I just described, right, even when I'm thinking about it, right, I'm very consciously thinking to myself, I'm taking off the director's hat, I'm putting on the producer's hat and going, how do I open doors? How do I make this movie happen? And the thing I often lament is that we don't have enough producers who are coming in with fresh ideas and little enough not tethered at all to the previous generation's way of producing movies. Right. There was this quote that I can't remember who said it. It might have been Martin Scorsese, and I confirm I'm mangling it because I can't even remember the exact quote. But it basically was or maybe might even have been James Cameron, like someone like that. So like a titan of world cinema, but still like someone who basically blazed trails. He basically said something along the lines of, every generation will figure out a way to make their own movies, and the next generation, and they will figure out what are the business models that work for them. It's the next generation's job to come up and destroy everything and figure out what works for them, what works for their generation making movies, what business model works for them, what's the best way to access audiences. And I really don't see this in a disparaging way that, oh, let's go dismantle everything our forefathers, our predecessors have constructed. But I always see it as like an inevitability. Something is inevitable. I'm sorry. Yeah. It's 11 p.m. Something is inevitable. And I almost feel like if we don't do that, it's our death. If we still go, let's look at what our forefathers have done and let's follow in their footsteps, that spells our doom. So any of our seniors watching this, like, or listening to this, right, and thinking like I'm in this to like try to like put people down, I'm not. I'm just trying to figure things out for myself.
You ought to see this.
So just to, because I really want to make this segment like useful for any film producers or film directors watching. Because to make a film in Singapore, it's not cheap, right? Crew costs a lot of money. Your above the line, below the line talent all costs a lot of money. How do you make it work financially?
I do not know, because I haven't made it yet, my first film yet. But my hypothesis, based on observing how other countries do it, like a country that I absolutely love, that does it this way, is and that's comparable to us in terms of cinematic history, at least in recent years. You know, the whole changing of the guard and all that, right? Is Taiwan. Is it like Taiwan's new generation of filmmakers, right? Their first films, right? What I love about it, how I term it, is their movies weren't made on money. Their first movies, their debut films were all made on relationships. They were all made on relationships between director and DP. they'll make a relationship between directors and actors, the DPs and their below the line crew, their gaffers. Everyone's friends. Everyone knows what each other wants to do, and everyone supports each other. And that for that first film to happen, and I'm not trying to, like, for anyone listening to this, right? I'm not trying to say, I don't want to pay people. That's not what I'm saying. I'm actually putting out there that I want to pay people. I want everyone to have a sustainable living. But for the first film, for debut movies, something's got to give. It's just the economics of the situation. Then, if every single person comes in and goes, and truth be told, as a producer, I want to give everyone their rightful pay, their rightful day rate, because the cost of living are high in Singapore, and that nobody should be working for free. But as a debut movie, if this is a director that you have grown up with, have learned your craft with, that you want to support, make that movie with this director, and provided the director has a movie, the director and the producer has to sell their vision and their movie to you first, to convince you of the idea that, okay, this is a movie that actually will lead to something better. That it's not a movie that's circumstantial, that it's not a movie that won't go anywhere, that, you know, there's just a wank fest, there's just a selfish movie, that selfish, like just a manifestation of a selfish vision. Once you're sure of that, why not support that filmmaker? Because at the end of the day, after that first film, if it's good with your support, and if all the values are in the right place, everyone's heart's in the right place, everyone will win after that together.
And to be fair to you, your above the line crew aren't really working for free, right? Because the way you structured the back end, maybe you can share a bit more about that, and hopefully it can be an inspiration for any film producers, directors watching.
Okay, so how I see it is that, so, you know, going back to the whole making a movie based on relationships, right? It shouldn't just be relationships. You should still make sure to protect the interests of whoever helps you in bringing this movie to life. So, for example, below the line crew, I know that below the line crew, the people who are grips, it's really just easier to pay them. And at the end of the day, they don't have creative stake in a movie either. And most people are not staying at a movie to watch the grips names. Let's be real. But they can still be very proud of the movie, but they don't have a huge creative sway over the direction of the movie. That's something that above the line crew have. But if you are below the line crew, I feel that because you don't have that creative sway, you should be paid your day rate, or whatever amount that you agree with the producer, whatever is a fair amount, whatever they can give essentially. And some movies can give a. I think my movie I can't give people their full day rates, but that's something to be negotiated with with every single crew, member of the crew, below the line crew lah. So, but for the above the line crew, people who actually have a say in the creative direction of the movie, in creating that vision, right? These people, like the DP, the art director, the production designer, they should be given they should have a profit participation. So there is percentage of profit participation for them, because they are giving out their time, and time is money, right? They're giving out their time to the movie, and if the movie does well, if they buy into the vision, you sold the vision, and they believe in the vision, and the vision actually comes true, they should share in the profits. And yeah, so I think whatever comes after that lah.
Yeah. So basically the above the line crew all have equity stake in the film.
I think it's not. I mean, I mean, the technical term is profit participation, because I mean, equity is like you provide money, capital.
Got it.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, for the director and the producer to even be able to approach a HOD with such a deal, to approach them with the vision, I think you need to build that relationship. You need to build that relationship through your short films, You build your relationship through shooting corporate videos, through shooting your television commercials, through learning each other's habits as friends. I think that is what I'm thinking about that. And you grow together, you make mistakes together. And it makes sense that after you make your mistakes together, it's time to win together on that first feature. And maybe after that, maybe the first feature doesn't win, but that starts building blocks for your second feature, the third feature. And what I'm excited for is for every filmmaker, younger, like if the younger generation, and even for us as well, I mean, we're still young, to figure out who are the people you want to grow with and bring on board this journey to make your first film, and then after that go for our next film.
Yeah. And for anyone watching this, how can they like support you?
So our crowdfunding campaign is still going on. We still greatly value and appreciate anyone who is interested in helping to support the movie. Because this your financial contribution actually will get you tickets to the movie event screening actually, and the movie event screening will have a lot of other things going with it, not just the movie. So if you contribute, you'll get access to all of those things and more. So yeah, stay tuned.
And I'm curious because I don't think we really asked you this. Why this story?
Why this story?
Yeah.
I started writing the story not from, I don't know whether Say Peng knows, but I think Say Peng will laugh because I think he knows my process. I start writing stories. I think John doesn't know this, but a lot of projects that I really end up feeling for, right, and that I think are worth it. They usually start from a place of constraint. They start from a place of, okay, what do I have at my fingertips? What resources do I have? Let's make a movie, tell the story, figure out what kind of story I can tell with those things. And with this first film, I realized not many things. I don't have anything that I can easily tap onto. Of course, things have changed slightly since then, but the seed of ideas started from this phrase that I used to pitch to my producers, which is that if one day you came up to me, my producers came up to me and told me, hey, come on, I have the toilets of the public toilets at Ghim Moh Hawker Center available to us. You want or not? And a sane filmmaker, a different filmmaker might go, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, why would I want the public toilet of Ghim Moh Hawker Center toilet? But then I was like, no, since I have nothing, I shouldn't be rejecting such gifts. I shouldn't be rejecting God says, okay, sure, but public toilet, then okay, let's go with it. I will use it. But then the question to ask is, what kind of story allows for me to just say yes to a random location offer like that? So I started thinking a bit further. What if you you go inside, within a story itself, you go inside the Ghim Moh Hawker Center public toilet, and you go up to this soap dispenser that's very fishy looking soap dispenser with the purple liquid inside that nobody ever touches. The top is completely dusty. The little button pusher, right, is like all glued up. What if you press down on it and one of the cubicles opened up, leading to like a passageway to an underground bunker of some clandestine government agency?
Right.
What if all that shit happened? Then I'm like, oh, there's something there. Like there's something. The seed of my idea was that there's all these locations that Singaporeans will walk by every single day. They think they know this location. They think they see this and they think that's the end of it. Singapore is boring. End of story. But what if there was a story that revolves? What if the plot revolves around all these things opening up to lead to some, like, it's just a surface, it's just a veneer. There's something deeper. There are all sorts of crazy adventures to be had in Singapore that you never thought about. That you just go into this proverbial, the rabbit tunnel. That Singapore is hiding a lot more secrets than you initially thought. and it leads to really, really fun adventures. Then from that set of idea, it just went into, okay, how do I expand on this idea? Like conspiracy theories, aliens, sci-fi shit, doomsday clouds. And then the story started to build from there, and I went into the whole idea, who is the character that would embody the audience's own journey into this like slide into down the rabbit's tunnel. It's a government worker. It's the amalgamation of every Singaporean.
Yeah. I think it's very Singaporean actually. Now you are saying the story, the UFO, the government worker, the reluctance and everything, and everything. Not everything you see is what it is, right? Easily connect to Singapore sensibilities and Singapore state of mind. Yeah, and that is why we're going into the polytechnics.
Hopefully the movie is good enough. Oh no, I should not say that. Absolute confidence, blind confidence. Let's go. But yeah, so
John, you wanna? Sorry.
Yeah, that's where the story started from.
Like, yeah. So I hope after watching, everyone we'll drop a link in the YouTube comments to bring you to the Indiegogo site. Yeah, John, do you want to take us to the final segment?
Okay, cool. So at the end of each episode, we will end off with like a quick fire question. First one, Office UK version or Office US version?
I'll get a flag for this, but US.
Okay, cool. Why?
Oh, what? We're asking you why?
Yeah, just a little bit. You don't have to like go into dissertation.
It ran for longer. It had the characters were a lot more approachable.
Right. Okay. Cool. Second one. One of these options is somebody you actually work with. Okay. On the topic of Singapore comedians, Fakar Fast or Farah Lola?
Farah Lola.
Why?
Why? Because I work with her, damn it. I don't know Fakar Fast.
Okay. Fair enough.
Phua Chu Kang or Under One Roof?
Oh my god. Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. Why?
All right.
I think I watch Phua Chu Kang a lot more.
Right.
I think Phua Chu Kang it felt like in those days, Phua Chu Kang was the more slightly subversive comedy compared to Under One Roof. Very wholesome. And I was at a point where I was beginning to appreciate stuff that push boundaries a bit more. Yeah. And there was always a sense of danger with Phua Chu Kang that this is a joke that might not work.
Yep.
Like Under One Roof always played it quite safe.
Yeah.
Memories of Murder or Parasite?
Memories of Murder, easy.
Why?
Okay.
Why? I think Memories of Murder is the first movie where I really saw Bong Joon-ho's style so clearly. Like Parasite was a very polished form of it.
Okay.
And I find myself drawn to something a bit less polished.
For the first time in our quickfire questions, we have a three-way. Because I read your IMDb account, I know that you wrote 6 episodes of Tanglin, right?
I haven't.
Yeah. So, Tanglin, Kin, or the latest iteration, Sunny Side Up?
Okay, to me this is easy because I have not really watched Kin or Sunny Side Up. I'm sorry.
Okay.
So I would say Tanglin.
Right. Okay.
And also, no. I'll stick Tanglin.
Next question is Pixar or Studio Ghibli?
Studio Ghibli.
Okay, cool. Why? Even though it should be quite obvious.
I prefer Studio Ghibli because their movies really show who the director is. It feels like
Right.
it's not a comparison of quality, but Studio Ghibli, when I watch a Studio Ghibli movie, where I see a director's pure essence, whether it's good or bad.
You are right. Whereas Pixar kind of goes into a bit of a Marvel mode right now. Right. Okay, cool.
And with that, thank you for being here, Chai Hong.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Chai Hong.
Yeah, you are really an inspiration for all aspiring indie filmmakers.
I never even made the first one.
Yeah. No, like I'm to be honest, right? Like in our generation of filmmakers, like early millennials, I guess that's how you put it. Or is it late millennials? But basically, those of us in our early 30s and maybe even late 20s, for me, like you are one of my favorite directors. You have a very unique voice, so I'm literally betting my money on you. So
Yeah.
yes. So waiting for you to send the check. No, actually, I should be sending the check. Anyway, waiting for
You should be sending a check first.
Yeah, but I'm waiting for your paperwork. But anyway, I feel like I don't even need to wish you luck, because I'm quite confident you'll not only get it made, but I think you will do a damn sick job. So I really look forward to watching it.
No pressure, guys. No pressure. It's scary as hell.
Yeah, John, do you have anything to add before we wrap up?
I think you brought up some really horrific points about this whole thing about starting a wave, and really it's really taking ownership and certainly a perspective that's gonna stay with me for some time. Yeah. So we hope that the more than anything, the next generation, the Gen Z, after that generation, they can take this, because I think they do have that attitude, that do it yourself, take it upon yourself and create something out of nothing kind of thing. It might not be as polished, but that will come later. First, the grassroots.
Yeah. To be honest, I admire the gung-ho-ness of Gen Z's and confidence. That spirit, right?
Yeah. And they are very aware. At least for the most part of them. I mean, they are still ignorant shitheads, but there are. You'll be surprised how articulate and how well read they are due to social media and everything. So they are very sensitive to such things, photos and anything. Yeah,
I have no doubts. I just can't wait to. I mean, the only films I'm familiar with are the ones that exist in my head. The ones I'm excited about. So because they exist in my head, I can't bring myself to be excited about them. What I'm excited about are to watch movies from everyone else. Those are the ones that I'll be like, oh my god, like I'll watch. Like, so guys, make your movies as well. Go, John, go, Say Peng, go.
Yeah. And with that, Chai Hong, I hope you go out and save the world. Bye.
Yeah. Save the world.
Thanks. We can save the world.